Well, welcome everyone to our third Friday legal workshop of the month. Our topic for today is going to be on the 7 legal tips for home businesses. My name is Sandra Vidrio, and I am here representing the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation. And our speakers for today is going to be the team at Berkeley New Business Community Law Clinic. Once again, thank you for joining us. As a thank you, before getting started, I want to say thank you to the following organizations and companies for their support towards our organization, for allowing us to continue bringing you these weekly webinars. And I would like to start by saying thank you to Bank of America, thank you to Comcast, Bank of the West, Bank of the Sierra, Chevron, Donna G. Sales, JP Morgan Chase and Company, Union Bank, and Wells Fargo. Thank you so much for your support. This is our agenda for today. We are joined by Bill Cal, who will be providing the presentation for today, and we'll end the presentation with a Q&A session. As mentioned before, I am with the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation, and as you can see here on your screen, these are some of the services that our organization has continued to provide to startup businesses, existing businesses here in the community. And so we are back in the office by appointment only, to offer our technical assistance program. So if you're looking to start a business and you need assistance with the permitting licensing process, we are able to guide you through what that process looks like and assist you during the transition of obtaining that necessary permit or license to be able to legally operate your business. And of course, we're continuing our weekly webinars. So if there's a topic that you would like to hear from in the near future, please let us know. And we have our CDFI program. And so, as you know, a lot of businesses that have been existing and operating prior to the pandemic, I know right now it's a lot of recovery and recovering your business, reopening your doors. So, if you need assistance with some type of financial capital or access to capital, please contact our office and we'll be more than glad to connect you with resources that are available. So, our contact number 559-222-8705. And with that, we will now transition over to our speaker for today. So, Bill, you should have already the option to
Share
share
the
your
screen.
screen. Yeah. So, as a reminder, our legal topic for today is regarding 7 legal tips that businesses operating from home should be aware of. So, thank you, Bill. You can take it away.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. Hope everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, so I'm William Kell, or Bill. I am the director of the New Business Community Law Clinic up here at UC Berkeley, and an attorney practicing, I don't know, I guess about 25 years now, helping small businesses. So today we thought we would touch base on an important topic for folks who are doing their businesses from home. And I've got a PowerPoint ready to go there. So what I thought I'd do is just make sure we get through it as soon as we can. What I'd like to do is have you put questions in the chat.
Mhm.
And then what I'll do is I'll circle back to the chat after we're finished and take them one by one, going that way, if that's okay. All right. All right. So let's go to the slideshow. Hope everybody can see this. Yeah. Okay, Sandra, we can all see that? Yes, right? Okay. Good. And I thought I'd flag for you folks, just as Sandra was saying, you know, we got lots of different workshops. We have about 30, 35 different workshops that we do on legal issues common for small businesses. So, you know, here are some on the side here you can see. And of course, any of these, you know, just throw them in the chat if you'd like, or throw it into the chat a topic that you'd like us to cover if you can think of something. So without further ado, let's get going, okay? So first thing, you know, always start with a legal disclaimer, you know, that we're just giving you here general information about the law. It's not designed to meet your specific situation, but we do invite you to, you know, sign up with our office hours at the end of the presentation today. I'll give you the link to sign up through our website for regular weekly office hours, which are Monday and Wednesday, 11 to 2. And we can do those in Spanish as well. And that would be a place where we can give you some actual legal advice for your particular situation. All right, well, here's some context. These are 7 legal tips for home businesses, but, you know, I'll just say there's a few different situations we're trying to address here. One is that, you know, many businesses who are just starting out are choosing to operate their businesses from home, I mean, there's a lot of good reasons for that. You know, it's no commuting, it's low cost, you don't have to rent a space. Usually it's easy to connect to some kind of online marketplace where you can do stuff. And, you know, great work family balance there too. I mean, if you can find a quiet space someplace. Um, but I would say that there's also people who started this long ago in the lockdown. Many had to switch on to a home operation, and so if you're in that category, there we just want to do sort of a review for you as to what you hopefully are doing already on the legal side for those who have been doing this all along. Now, then there's another aspect, which is, of course, that even if you're back to work, if your business is back operating on site, there are employees that still have to deal with COVID. And so sometimes they're going to need to work from home, potentially, if you want them to work at home. I mean, again, we'll talk about who gets to work at home on an employee basis, but we want to make sure that you knew when your employees go home, what still applies in terms of the law. And so, as I said, good time to review these different laws, and also, learn about some different supports like tax breaks and stuff that your business might be entitled to going forward. So, all right, well, let's get started. So here's our overview, the 7 tips for home businesses. First, you should definitely know that anytime you have an employee working from home, basically all of the California and federally required employer requirements still apply, and we'll do a quick review of those. Second would be, you should know that when your employees, they do have rights to take a leave at home for different reasons. So we want to cover that real quick as well. You should know that when you do business from your home, that some additional permits may be needed from your local government. This is particularly because of zoning laws that maybe have cut your community into different areas of commercial use, personal use, residential use, mixed use, things like that. So it may be that you need some approval from government actually to do your kind of business at home. We certainly suggest that you keep your insurer in the loop. It may be that your insurance policy is only focused on your business site, but if you move it at home, your insurer has to know, because their contract has to say, we're covering this particular site for your business as well. Your landlord, if you're starting to work at home, generally we say proactively keep your landlord informed, make sure they're in the loop on things so that they don't get disgruntled. And then, doing business online, if you're actually starting to use the web for buying, selling, interacting with your customers, there may be some additional requirements that you should add to your website or other things. So we'll cover those. And finally, there's tax breaks potentially available to you as a business owner, but also sometimes to employees working at home to help cover the costs of working from home. So we're going to cover all those too. All right, seems like a lot, but let's just jump right in here. So, so what it should say at the top, I'm sorry, the thing sort of covers up the heading there, but yeah, I guess that's the best we can do. So it says employer requirements still apply for employees when they work at home. So that's the word. Almost all employment law requirements still apply to employees working from home. And so we've got here, well, here's 9 of them here. There's about 8 more on the next page here. But some of these should not be unfamiliar to you. You need to get an employer identification number from the IRS. You need to sign up with the California Employment Development Department. You have to withhold wages for the feds and the state. You have to do disability insurance and workers' comp and unemployment insurance. You have to sign up for all of those systems there. There may be a payroll tax by your city. You do I-9s for people to make sure they have the right to work. And then, of course, you have to report hires to the Employment Development Department, including, by the way, contractors. If you have employees, you also have to put in contractors as well. You have to inform them of those. There's a few more things here, up to 18 different things here. I won't cover every single one of these, but you can take a look at them yourself. Probably the most important one on this page is to comply with wage and hour laws, workplace safety, non-discrimination laws. All of those are really Very important things to pay attention to. And let's see, I guess those are the main things just pay attention to there. You may have personnel policies that you've already developed. By the way, we have samples of all of these different forms and stuff. If you need them, just send us it in the chat your email, and we'll try and send you some of this. Personnel policies are private to the employer, and you should just know that those continue to apply even if somebody is working at home. So we're going to go over that in just a minute in a little more detail. Okay. Now here's an important point. Employees do not have a right to work at home, either under California or federal law. They can't just say, hey, I'm going to start working at home. No, they can ask. They can ask to work from home. But the employer can say, look, you're a waitress. I can't, you're a receptionist at our counter. You can't do that from home. I'm sorry. So in that situation, you are not required to provide them another job. If they are, one of these jobs that a core function of their job is to be at your business site, then, that just means that they are choosing really not to work for you if they demand to work at home. Okay, you should know that employers are responsible still for maintaining a safe workplace at home. Okay, so that way you can order an employee to work from home to be safe from work. Maybe there are things going on at work, construction and whatever, so it's not safe for them to work at the workplace. But you can also say to them, no, you cannot work at home because you've got sick family members there, and unless they're taking a leave, they're still, you don't want to put them in an unsafe workplace because you're still responsible for that sort of thing. Now, one other point I might make on this one is, as you are interacting with them, let's say on Zoom or something like that, and you see that they're in an unsafe situation, I think, for example, of somebody who has sees that their employee is working in a garage. Okay, well, if you put down the door of a garage and they're still working there, there could be, some carbon monoxide problems there. So you can order it, say to them, I'm sorry, you cannot work in your garage. I guess you could say, unless you leave always leave the garage door open or something like that. So again, just know that you have some responsibilities to keep your employees safe, even when they're at home. And if an employer expects the employee to work from home, okay, you should just know that employees are still covered by all of the laws and all of the company personnel policies that are already applicable to the workplace. So, okay, well, here's a few more things to know. We would suggest that you maybe develop a written work at home policy. Okay, why do you do that? Well, for one thing, you can make it temporary. If you really foresee that this is only a temporary situation, you don't want people to feel, reliant on it, then you want to put something in the policies as a temporary work from home policy during the pandemic, something like that. And you want to clarify different expectations for their work at home. Now, of course, if their work hours or pay are different when they're working at home, clarify that. They are still entitled to breaks when you can't, and we'll cover this in a minute. That means, I believe it's every 6 hours, they need to have a break. After 6 hours, they get a lunch break. We can go over the details of that if you want. Multitasking, gosh, I do this myself. I'm talking, you ought to be glad I'm not doing this workshop while doing the dishes. We really need some dishes to be done here, but that's going to make some noise and stuff. So, probably put in your policy, don't do extra work. Don't be walking the dogs while you're, working with a client or something like that. We have some issues on workplace privacy that we have a whole slide on that in a minute, but privacy while working at home, how much of what, here I am, doing this for my employer, I'm doing a training here, but this is my employer's laptop. And right after I finish this workshop, I may start doing some personal emails or something. Well, are those personal emails something my employer can see? Actually, yes, because it's the employer's computer that we have here. So, but you might want to clarify that with your employees just so that, so it doesn't blow up and, something where people's expectations are dashed on that. You do want to give them a sense of how to keep track of their hours. They have to report their hours accurately, of course. And then that might be a little more challenging with somebody at home. They're working for an hour and 10 minutes, and then, their kid needs something. Okay, well, they have to put their things down and they have to come back after a few minutes. And then, you know, it's not an hour on the hour kind of thing very easily there. So you got to make sure that people know how to report their hours accurately. And of course, what expenses will be reimbursed as well. Maybe partially, since you're requiring them to be on the internet. Well, you need to provide some help for them to cover the cost of that. All right. Um, so one very important thing to note is that from home policies must be applied evenly. They can't discriminate, can't say, well, all of the older workers get to work at home. Well, no. What you could say is, well, we have a workplace where there are COVID risks, so people more at risk can be at home, and that will just turn out to be probably more people who are older. But you can't just say, only women get to work at home, or people over 65 can work at home, something like that. All right, a few more things. Wage and hour laws still apply. You should know that all the work done at any time of the day. So if I actually work after one in the morning sometimes, that is those are hours that have to be reimbursed as well, compensated, okay, and overtime, okay, and that's why you have to keep track of these hours very accurately and stuff. And when I say breaks need to be recorded and real, what I mean by that is it's still on the employer to prove that the employees got their breaks even when they're working at home. And so what that means is that the record keeping that they're doing, you need to review that, and you need to say, wait a minute, you were supposed to take a break here. You know, every time you're working at home for us, you need to have a break. You need to not be, doing extra things that we want you to do. For example, you can't say, well, during your break, why don't you record your hours? Well, no, you can't do that. That's got to be a break. Okay. All right. Now, here's where there is a caveat. Remember, I said that nobody has the right to work at home. Well, the Americans with Disabilities Act provides a process where the employer may find that after they interact with the client, or excuse me, after interact with the employee, find out what the employee's needs are. Their situation is such that they can't come into the office because of their disability. Well, in that situation, it could be a reasonable accommodation for an employee with COVID, for example, can't come into the office with COVID, but it could be a reasonable accommodation to require them to work at home or give them the right to work at home if they ask for it. Okay. And as I said, if you have special equipment that you'd normally provide for them at work, like a keyboard or a special chair or something like that, you need to reimburse expenses if they need to buy that to work at home. Okay. All right, sounds like we got new people coming in. Let's see. Okay, now a few other things. Here, we're getting to privacy now, all right? So what privacy rights do employees have when working from home? For example, when they're sending personal email or using social media on a company-owned laptop? Well, the answer may surprise you. Basically, not many rights because employees themselves have so few privacy rights at work. It really matters as to, for example, if they're using a company-owned computer. If it's company-owned computer, even partially company-owned computer, um, employers generally have the ability to monitor emails and social media posts used from that computer. Now, some states, not California, actually require employers to notify employees when they monitor their emails, but we say it's a good idea to inform them anyway in their personnel policy. It's just you don't want surprises like that. Now, here's another point. Now, California law does prohibit employers from demanding employees' social media passwords or sanctioning them for refusing to disclose. However, okay, they can require an employee to disclose their computer password on a company-owned computer. Okay. An employer, though, may require the employee to divulge personal social media posts, passwords, if it's reasonably relevant to an investigation of employee misconduct. Okay. Um, so, for example, I just read in the paper today there was a Berkeley High teacher who's now been accused of, molesting his students, and so all of them that normally, I believe, his social media posts wouldn't be accessible unless he used it on a company computer, but even on a private computer. An employer can, as part of an investigation of misconduct, require the employee to divulge personal social media. So that teacher will probably need to disclose and open up his social media site to a sexual harassment investigation like that. Yeah. So let's see. So now here's the leave issues that I was talking about. So remember, the employees at this time have a number of ways that we've been trying to, as a country, encourage them to stay home when they need to. Okay. And one of the first ones, well, actually, I'll cover this. This is a summary of all of them there. If the employee is not allowed to work from home but needs to, then they may still have the benefit of some of these different federal or state leave requirements here. So I'm going to cover that in just a second here, but just know that some local governments have increased these leave amounts. So for example, Berkeley provides a little bit more in terms of number of weeks of leave than the federal requirements there. Okay, so just check your local government for that. All right, so let's start with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which you may be surprised is still in effect. It was extended under the American Rescue Plan Act to September 30th of 21. So it's still going. And what it means is that you can get paid sick leave at 100% pay for up to 80 hours, okay? And up to $511 a day or $5,110 total if the worker has been subject to a quarantine or isolation order, or has been advised by a doctor to self-quarantine, or is experiencing COVID symptoms there, okay? So, these are things that employees are still entitled to under the Federal Families First Act. Now, of course, they could still apply for a disability if for some reason they've run out of their coverage here. Now, one of the things you should know is that employers do get a tax credit, okay, if you voluntarily provide employees up to this 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave, okay, even if they already used 80 hours before April 1st of 21st. So the Families First Coronavirus Response Act went all the way back to the beginning of the pandemic. If they've already used their 80 hours, you can still get a tax credit if you provide even more than those 80 hours, okay, up to 80 hours, you just know, okay. Let's see, Family and Medical Leave Act, okay. This entitles eligible employees of covered employers to take unpaid but job protected leave for family and medical reasons. This means that their benefits, their health insurance has to continue during the leave. And this applies to work sites where there are 50 or more employees, okay, within 75 miles of the workplace, have been employed for the employer for at least 12 months. Okay, and there's some, required work hours during the 12-month period before they start that leave there. Okay, here's a little bit more about FMLA. 12 work weeks of leave in a 12-month period for any of these reasons: birth of a child, adoption of a child, to care for employee's spouse or child or parent with a serious injury or serious condition. Yeah, there's just a number of reasons for doing this, as well as this active duty thing as well. This is 26 work weeks of leave to cover a covered service member if the eligible employee is the service member's spouse, son, daughter, parent, or next of kin. Okay, so extra benefits for the military, of course. All right, here's a few more. California Family Rights Act, okay, the CFRA. Eligible employees can take up to 12 weeks of paid or unpaid job protected leave during the 12-month period. Again, benefits have to continue. Again, this is for the birth of a child. This is for caring for immediate family members if an employee is unable to work. Then you got the if because excuse me, unable to work because of a serious health condition, and that's a number of things that you see here. Ongoing treatment related to an incurable illness or restorative dental plastic surgery, inpatient care and aftercare for that. So California Family Rights Act does apply to all employers and does make a big difference for people who need this leave for medical reasons. Then there's the Pregnancy Disability Leave Act, of course. So this is 5 or more employees must provide up to 12 weeks of unpaid disability leave because of pregnancy, childbirth, or related illnesses. Now, and if an employer can prove that this accommodation is an undue burden, okay, that means maybe they only have 2 employees or something. Well, no, you have to have at least 5 employees. Maybe somehow this person is essential to the job. They're going to have to prove that going forward. I think it's to the Employment Development Department. Then there's the California Paid Family Leave Act. Okay. This gives temporary disability insurance to those who take time off to care for a seriously ill child, spouse, parent, domestic partner, 8 weeks of paid family leave to eligible workers, basically to take disability benefits under the employer's disability insurance policy. All right, well, let's see. So, and I have some more information here at the Employment Development Department's website. You can check these things out there. Okay, well, now we got all the leaves covered. Now the last few things I want to cover are, permits that may be needed there. So if you are doing business at home, the local government is going to be thinking, well, your home is the residentially characterized area of town there. If you're doing stuff at home, you might be affecting your neighbors. You may be conducting commercial activities that are generally prohibited from the residential areas there. So the main thing you just have to do is just go to your local county or city zoning office, find out, tell them you're working at home, tell them the activity that you're doing. And, many businesses already are termed to be residential uses of homes. For example, childcare. If you're doing family home childcare, that is deemed to be a residential use of your home. But there may be some permits that you need. I know we helped somebody who is roasting coffee beans, making coffee at home. Well, they actually didn't need a commercial permit, but they did need an emission permit for the air, the fumes that were going into the air. That actually, I would love to live next to a coffee roaster. I'd love that. I mean, here all the time, but anyway, they needed to have these emission permits to go forward here. You see, and sometimes these permits have requirements, like for example, if you're seeing clients, it may be that you have to carve off parking spaces. Maybe you have to let people park in your not in your garage, but in your driveway to make sure that it doesn't impact your neighbors, things like that. All right, here's another one. Do you need a California seller's permit if you're at home? Well, it basically applies any place you're selling, selling merchandise or personal property, even temporarily, requires this registration with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. So make sure you check on that if you're selling anything out of your home. Okay. And then just know that if you already have some of these permits for your business at a different business site location, then of course, make sure that that permit is updated with your home address now so that it'll cover it there. All right. All right, here you go. Insurers. Well, the main thing to know about your insurer is that every bit of your policy coverage for liability or other things like this is based on a contract. And if your contract doesn't have your address on it, if it has the business site's address on it and not your home, that is an easy loophole for the insurer to say, look, you're not covered. You didn't tell us that you were starting to work at home. All right, well, let them know. And you should just know that homeowner insurance coverage generally won't work because it doesn't cover business use of the home. Okay. So just know that, so check your commercial liability insurance policy, which every business should have, and just make sure that it will apply to wherever your activities are going on, either at home or at the business site, okay? And I will say that if you don't have coverage yet, of course, we recommend you use an insurance broker to shop among different policies, because you should know, a State Farm agent, if you like State Farm, that's great, but they can only sell you State Farm insurance. They can't hunt for other insurers that might give you a cheaper policy. All right, now here we go. Landlords. Yeah, generally keep your landlord informed of what you're doing there, because home leases often prohibit commercial use, or it might say only for personal residential use or something like that. Well, generally you want to proactively work with that landlord on likely concerns they would have, somebody, suing your home-based business and deciding your landlord should be also sued on that lawsuit there too. Well, so what you want to do is go to your insurance provider and say, I want to add my landlord as an additional insured. That means that not only will the insurance company defend you, but it will also defend the landlord as well. Okay. And, take into account disruption of traffic, noise, other things that your neighbors will be upset about that your landlord could be angry about. Now, here's a little tip. If you go first to the local government and get that home business use permit, well, then if you go to the landlord and say, oh, no, but here, this is commercial use, you can't do that here. You could say, oh, but, I already got my permit from the government, my city says it's okay to use my home this way. Well, okay, then maybe he thinks there's going to be less, landlord thinks there's less liability in that situation. Okay, well, online business requirements. Okay, just know a few things here. If you have a website, okay, many websites just provide contact information for you. How do you get in touch with me? What's my email? Where's the site where you can pick up stuff? That's not a problem. You could just pretty much post that on your website, no problem. But if you're doing some kinds of additional interactions with the customer, you're providing them some service that requires them to provide you information or to respond to notices that you're giving them or something like that. Well, that's where you want to have what are called terms of use, or sometimes they're called terms of service. It's like a contract. And of course, we've all seen this when we buy something online. It says, do you agree to our terms of use? Click here. Well, that's essentially what you need. And what we would say to you is we have some template terms of use and privacy policies. I'll tell you about those in a second, but there's basically two documents that you're going to need for your website there. So we have some samples of those, but what I would say to you is in a pinch, what you could do is, let's say you're selling baked goods out of your home or something like that, maybe under the cottage food law or something, and you want to set up some terms of use with your customers there. Okay, well, it's not going to be a problem if you go to another website that is selling baked goods out of their home and basically borrow those website terms of use. I would make sure that you didn't use the names of the people or anything identifying to show that you did take it from them. But terms of use, it's not like it's a copyright or something. It's not like I could write the best copyrighted terms of use and nobody else can use them. No, because they're important legal forms and such that the law says we want to make sure that people use the best versions of these possible. So anyway, as I said, you could get some terms for use from us. And then there's these privacy policies that also talk about how you are going to treat the information that you get from your customers. They're identifying information, they're what is the code for their computer, the distinct code for their computer and stuff. So let's cover those for just a second here. So terms of use, okay, always need to fit with your functionality of your website. So for example, if a customer is posting content, let's say you have a website, okay, and they're posting content like, I don't know, maybe your business helps them draw stuff, okay, or gives them lessons in drawing, and then they want to post the drawing that they made. Okay, well, that's cool, that's nice, but just make sure that they're posting stuff that they actually own. You see, if somebody posted, Van Gogh's Starry Night and said it was theirs, well, the Van Gogh estate, if they're still around, will contact you and say, wait a minute, that's our Starry Night. You have to take that down because he's claiming it's his. And that's actually under federal law, federal and state law. Yes, you as a poster of potentially copyrighted information, you have to police that. So if somebody is posting stuff claiming it's theirs and it's not, in order for you to avoid liability, you have to have a policy that says we take those things down if somebody complains and gives us proof that it is their copyrighted stuff. Okay, so there's just a little extra language that you have to have in your terms of use. Again, we have a sample that we can share with you on that. Here's another one. We've had experiences, of course. If you have like a social site, maybe you are, for example, we had a business that was trying to hook people up with mentors on different issues, how to do flamenco dancing or how to, I don't know, work with a very rambunctious husky or something like that, like ours. Anyway, you have personal information, contact information that's being shared. Well, you have to plan for the possibility that somebody's going to start misusing that information. So, the person who's helping you with your husky, you start saying, hey, why don't you go out with me? Something like that. So you got to have some rules of conduct that basically say, no contact, unwanted contact. If the person tells you they don't want to hear from you, then you stop. If you don't stop, we kick you off the website. Okay. Finally, if customers are buying stuff, what we recommend is that you use one of these third-party services like Stripe or Plaid or something like that. And in that situation, you're going to have in your terms of use something that says, we are not responsible for Stripe. We are not responsible for Plaid if they screw up when they are doing your third-party processing here, like that. Okay. All right, now a couple of things about privacy policies, okay? Because the California Online Privacy Act has some very important guidelines for people. First, you have to be clear about how the data you're collecting is used, if it's shared with anybody. You have to give people the ability to opt out of sharing. This is what we call monetization opt-out. If your information is being given to another, advertiser or something like that, you got to give them the ability to opt out from that. Also, if they say we want our data to be deleted, you have to promise them and do that. Okay. And important point, do not gather data from minors under 13 years old without their parents' consent. That's what's called the Child Consumer Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA. Okay. All right. And then there's some privacy invasion issues. We've actually encountered these all the time. So here you can see for yourself on this training here, FAHF doesn't use the same link every time, because then somebody could easily go onto the web, find it, and then just jump into your workshop at any point and start posting whatever they want and stuff. So remember, you have some responsibilities to make sure there's no privacy invasion going on. Okay. All right, we're in the home stretch, folks. Tax breaks. I thought we'd finish with this because this might be some good news for you actually here monetarily. All right, well, there are federal and California state tax deductions that you or sometimes your employees may be able to take for business use of a home. Okay, so employees, it's a little more limited on the employee side because actually the Trump Tax Act took away their ability to itemize and take benefits from this. But there are two parts good for employees, is that employers must reimburse workers for all necessary expenditures and losses incurred in the course of a job. So that means, you say you're going to be working online, probably need to reimburse their internet expenses for something like that. Now, here you go. The employees can't claim the federal home business deduction like the owner can, like the business owner can, but they can if, for example, the employer says you're going to be working at home. Basically, they're hired to work from home. And being a worker from home is a condition of employment. Well, then they can take advantage of this federal home business deduction that we're going to cover in just a second here. But normally that's only for business owners. Okay. Now, again, you can deduct from if your home office is what we call your principal place of business. Okay, that answers two questions. Do you spend more business related time there than anywhere else? And are most significant revenue generating activities performed there? Okay, then you can use this, what we call the home business use deduction. Okay, and here's how it works. Okay, what you can deduct is, well, there's these two methods. There's a simplified method or the regular method. I would say that if you have an accountant that can help you with this, the regular method is going to potentially give you the biggest tax deduction you can get because it doesn't take sort of set amounts of space like the simplified method does. We'll go over this in just a second here. But the most important part is that the portion of the home that's being used has to be exclusively used for your business. So for example, it cannot be a guest room, okay, when other people come and stay with you or something. Can't be the playroom, can't be a TV room or something like that, okay? And then the total deduction taken cannot exceed the total gross of your income. Okay, so there are limits on how much you can deduct there. The simplified method or the regular method, I didn't want to go into too much standard stuff here, but because there's a nice link here that gives you the back and forth from the IRS about which method works best for you. But you see on the simplified method, a standard $5 per square foot is used to determine the deduction, but maybe your home is worth a lot more than that. So then maybe you want to use the regular method to keep track of what the actual value of the home is that is being used. So let me see. So a couple other things. What can you deduct? Look at all this good stuff you can deduct here. Yeah, mortgage interest, property taxes, rent, utilities, office supplies, leased vehicles. Okay, there's depreciation. So this would apply to like big expenses like a computer or a car or something like that. You probably want to spread the cost of that over several years. You get better advantages from that. And the forms you want to use are again, the federal form would be 8829, and you'd use it in conjunction with your 1040, your individual tax return, and the Schedule C, which is the profit and loss of business schedule. In California, you basically do this on your individual return 540. It covers the different, again, costs of doing business. So. All right, guys. Well, that's the workshop right there. We have a quick recap of the 7 legal tips. Again, at-home employees are still covered by federal, state, and local employment law and your employer personnel policies if you have, set those up. Okay. Be aware of your employee rights to take a leave under federal and state programs. Again, there may be even a tax break that you get for allowing such leaves voluntarily. Home businesses may require a home business use permit from your local government, so check that out. Make sure your insurer is on board and will cover your activities wherever your business is operating, at home or otherwise. Residential leases may prohibit the business use, so make sure you work with your landlord so that they're happy, keep them in the loop. And finally, starting new business activities online may come with new requirements. Or the need to create these terms of use. Oh yeah, I forgot one more. The tax breaks. Try and take advantage of all of those that you can. Costs related to working at home might be tax deductible or reimbursable if you're an employee. So take advantage of all those if you can. All right, guys, that's it. Those are the questions. I'm ready for those. Let's pop off of here and see if we got anything in the chat. Hold on here. Looks like we got a few questions in the chat here. Let's see, sign up for legal office hours. Oh yeah, good. Thank you for putting the legal office hours in the chat there. Let's see.
Yeah.
Questions
So this was a really great This was definitely a really good conversation, especially now, right, during the pandemic. Well, as
Yeah.
we transition away from the pandemic, where a lot of individuals are like, you know what, there's, I'm ready to launch my own business, and a lot of home businesses and sometimes even service-based businesses, right? So one of the
Hmm.
questions here is from someone that has in mind to sell tangible items like notebooks, stickers, notepads,
Yeah.
but they also want to offer their services as a graphic designer. So their
Right.
question is,
Hmm.
do I need a seller's permit for digital products like logos or banners?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I do know that the tangible items, yes, you would have to get a seller's permit for that. Digital products, gosh, I wish I knew that right off the top of my head. Why don't we do this, Elizabeth? Could you put your email in the chat, and I will go ahead and find that out and then email you? How about that? If that's okay. My initial instinct on it would be, thank you. I'll get that right there. Let me put that in my text here. Let me just make sure I write it down here. Okay, hold on. There we go. Put that up here. Yep, got it. Good. Okay, my initial thought on it would be, is probably because it is an item that is still kind of tangible because it's in digital form. It's not like you're, well, even like if you were writing a song for somebody, you'd still be writing it down, the lyrics and the notes and stuff like that. So it still would be in tangible form. So my initial thought is that yes, because it's in code, that still makes it tangible. That still makes it subject to a seller's permit. But I'll double check on that. So that's just my initial thought. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, any other questions that people might have, you can go ahead and mute yourself. And what is this? Do I need a seller's permit? Yeah, there you go. That's the link to find out there. But as I said, I will look up and make sure that I'll make sure that we find out the real answer for you there.
Yeah, and then also like you mentioned, Bill, if it's a tangible product, definitely whether it's home-based, storefront, even
Mm-hmm.
online, right? And then if you're selling
Mm-hmm.
online, you need to make sure that your system calculates right when they're, calculates the sales tax. That way the client knows that they have to pay those upfront.
Right, right, very true. Now, as I understand on sales permits or on sales tax, the sales tax would generally only be on the item, but if you are also providing a service with the item, you're showing them how to use it, or you're giving them a warranty with it, or something like that, then the services might also be subject to sales tax.
I know the easiest example for sure is a restaurant, right? If you're going to dine in into a restaurant, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you order like a cup of ice, they charge so.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or
Right.
not, ice is a tangible item under the eyes of the state of California.
There you go. That's true. Hey, good. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll let you get back to your Fridays. But thank you, folks, for joining in on this. And do let Sandra know if there are other workshops that you'd like to see going forward. And we're happy to provide. And of course, do check out our legal office hours. They put it in the chat there about how to sign up for those.
Yes, absolutely. So today's recording has been recorded. Today's webinar has been recorded, and it will be made available to all participants that registered, and of course, those that are currently on the Zoom call. And as a reminder, our next legal workshop will be on August 20th, 2021, also a Friday at 1 p.m. And the topic is going to be on the legal pitfalls of new businesses. So if you're a startup business, this would be definitely a great webinar to sit in, listen into, and of course, we'll have our legal experts to answer any questions. So thank you so much, Bill, as always, for this partnership and opportunity to help our small businesses here in the Central Valley area.
All right. Thank you, Sandra. Good luck, everybody. Do let us know if we can be helpful.
Thank you.